Hey everyone, a nice company reached out to me to do a review on one of their tools. Funny thing about this is that I was actually already a fan of this tool. This all goes back to a couple years ago when the orange Chevette that I just had on the channel, the 77, when we first got that running, it had no brakes, as stuff does. Blown brake lines, etc. and so forth. But the funny thing about that Chevette is that the braking system on it was so small, like just the mass cylinder moved so little volume and the calipers, everything were so small, is that I could not get the brakes to bleed using any method. If you used the pedal, it would just trip the proportioning valve. There seemed to be no way to force it. Like if you breathed on it at all, basically, the proportioning valve tripped and you had no fluid to the rear brakes. Gravity bleeding didn't work, pressure bleeding didn't work. There was like, for some reason, the brake system just would not cooperate. So I started doing some research, and this was probably, 10 years ago, at least. Actually, longer than that, not think about it, which is terrible. But I actually found this product, and this company, Phoenix Systems, just reached out to me to do a review on it. Like I said, I'm already kind of a fan, but I'm gonna go over it with you. So they sent me their nice little brake bleeder here. I don't know the exact model number because they have a few of these, so I'll probably put that here. I know this is one of the more higher end versions they sell, but basically the gist of all this is that this thing bleeds brakes backwards of how you'd normally bleed them. This, you actually push the fluid from the bleeder, from the wheel, up through the system and actually fill the master cylinder from the wheel. The theory behind this is that, well, obviously air rises. So when you're trying to bleed a vehicle in the traditional manner, you're trying to get air to do what it doesn't want to do. It wants to go up where you're trying to force it down brake lines and out something that's lower than the master cylinder normally. So this is actually pushing the fluid and the air up. So all the air should go in front of the fluid and be pushed out. And when you're done, as long as you do everything properly, your brakes are bled 100%. And basically what the moral of the story is that when I ordered this thing years and years and years ago, and I used it on that Chevette, I literally had the brakes bled in like 15 minutes on the whole car. And up to that point, we had been trying for honestly weeks to try and get the brakes to work. So I'm gonna show you how this contraption works, and then there's gonna be a discount code for you mentioned or in the comments or whatever, somewhere, I don't know, to just look for it, it'll be there. But yeah, let me go over how this thing works. So here's what comes in the package. So this is your actual bleeder tool. This actually injects the fluid out there. You have a reservoir bottle, which will serve two purposes. I'll show you that in a minute. You have some hoses, some fittings, some more fittings, because this can be used for all kind of stuff. You can bleed clutches with this. It goes in here, all the different things you can do, directions, so forth. But basically, what we're gonna be concerned with is just bleeding the brakes on my C10 here, because I changed the brake line, and I figured this would be a good time to do it. So let me show you how this thing works. Okay, so like I said, I had this set up for like the basic, just bare bones brake bleeding. There's all kind of doodads in there depending how crazy you want to get or what you're doing. All kind of different cups, adapters, all that. I just have the basic hose that already comes on the actual gun here. This goes to the reservoir that's included. Now I should have showed you this, but I didn't. When you unscrew the cap, this is kind of like a washer, not a washer, no, antifreeze overflow bottle, where there's two nipples on top of this cap. One of them has a tube that goes down and one of them doesn't. So you want to hook this to the one with the tube that goes into the fluid, because obviously it'll draw the fluid up. So the first thing you have to do is bleed the gun out. Now all the connections on it are these little quarter turn connectors. I've seen them in other things, I don't know what they're called, but everything just goes together and you just do a little turn on it and that's it. So you put the outlet hose on the other end of the bottle. And then what you do is you start pumping the gun facing upwards until you have no more air in this chamber or the hose. And this will actually bleed it so you're ready to, so basically so you won't put any air into it. There we go, trying to get some fluid. I don't know how well it's gonna show up on the camera, but you can see the, in the chamber here. Okay, I've gone ahead and put the elbow on the bleeder screw, and I have my wrench on it. So what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna squeeze this a little bit as you crack the bleeder, so that you push any air that got in the line out before it goes into the bleeder. So I'll start pushing it a little bit, and then there we go. Now it says in the directions you can do between 3 and 10 pumps. What I will normally do is I will do 5 pumps on the first wheel and then 3 pumps on all the ones after that. But you can experiment, you know, basically whatever gets you a pedal in the end. And then as you're closing up on the last pump, tighten your bleeder before you release, so same thing, so you don't suck any air into it. And that's it, like this wheel should be bled. So you can do it by yourself. Really, there should be no issues as long as you just do roughly what I just said. Now I'll do the other wheel and I'll show you what happens to the master cylinder while I'm doing it. Now, like I said, I'm just gonna do 3 pumps on this one, but you should see the fluid and maybe some air come out. Although it probably wasn't actually necessary to bleed that wheel. Probably the one wheel was good enough because I just changed this one line here. There we go, that's that. So now that you've seen how it worked, I can get into the actual review. So as I said earlier, I am a fan of this because it did save my ass once, or a few times, but that was what sold me on it. But what I will say is that it's not really the tool if you're just like changing a brake caliper on your daily driver. For the amount of time it takes to set up and clean up and everything, you could have had the caliper bled by gravity bleeding or just have someone pump the pedal 3 times and it's good. Where it really comes in handy is when you're on your own and you have to bleed something, like I usually am. 2, when you're working on something that is kind of, say, a heap, and say you're changing everything in the brakes all at once. All the lines, wheel cylinders, calipers, master cylinder, everything. And you have a completely dry system. It saves you a lot of headaches by just pushing the fluid right full and right through. You don't have to worry about, you know, getting airbound and stuff and portioning valves and all kind of weirdness. And then the other time it comes in handy, as I started this all out with, is when you have a brake system that really just seems like nothing else works and you need some kind of miracle to make it bleed. Then this thing will probably do it. If this doesn't do it, I mean, you have something going on. Obviously, this won't fix some kind of mechanical issues, leaks, or something like that. But if the brake system can work, this should make it work. And now for the good part. Phoenix Systems is offering all of my fine viewers here 15% off site-wide. So you can buy the tool I just used or any of their other products. Just use the coupon code Fuel Injection Sucks, all one word, and you get 15% off your first order. And then, you know, try it out for yourself. Maybe try one of their other things. Like I started out this video with, I'm just kind of happy to review something or present something to you that I've actually been using myself, so I know it's a quality product. And hopefully this will come in handy for you in the future if you run into one of these weird situations or just want to be able to bleed brakes easier on your projects at home.